Aging is not for the faint of heart. I'm Kim, a proud Generation Xer, and I'm here with my baby boomer mom, Karen. Together, we'll tackle the tough but necessary conversations, share the hilarious and sometimes embarrassing moments, and open up about the stories that truly touch the heart. Come with us as we explore what it means to navigate these years with our aging loved ones. So grab a cup of coffee or maybe a glass of wine, invite your friends and family, and join us for Walks with Mom. Well, welcome back, listeners, to Walks with Mom. My name is Kim, and I'm a proud Generation Xer, and I'm here with my mom, Karen.
And I am a very proud baby boomer.
And we are just so excited to be here to help others in our situations, the two generations, to start having conversations, right? In hopes that this could be a catalyst in a fun but meaningful way.
Yes.
Well, last time, this is kind of a two-part episode, Mom, if you remember. We started talking about maybe there's three types of people as we age. You want to give our audience maybe a quick recap of those three?
Well, we talked about the wise. And this can be any generation, but we were talking about the older generation, my generation. And a wise person kind of looks ahead, plans ahead in both all kinds of matters, financial, living situations, but you're planning ahead. And so you are empowered by planning ahead.
Oh, I like that word.
Yeah.
Empowered.
Yeah.
Empowered.
So you're proactive.
Okay.
Well, then you could be the foolish one, which
Okay.
is kind of the other end of the spectrum. And you just kind of ignore reality, ignore what's really going on. And you just kind of think, oh, it'll work out, You're just kind of consequence driven. You're reactive.
Oh, instead of the proactive,
Right.
and
You have to react to
nature.
situations, and it's not always well thought out that way. And then you have the simple who just is not quite understanding what's going on, understanding all the parameters, and they're just naive. They're kind of easily swayed by maybe what someone else says. They don't really know. Though.
Instead of doing maybe some research or thinking through.
Right.
That
and they just kind of float through life.
Float through life.
But you know what? I don't think it just applies to my generation.
No, we did talk about how, you could be wise, foolish, or simple in your older years. But I think we're going to do the flip side, because our whole premise of doing this is looking from both perspectives,
right. From both generations.
My generation of supporting aging loved ones, and how we can be wise, simple, or foolish, right?
Right, exactly.
And so to start this, I had to really kind of dig deep a little bit in what areas have I been wise, foolish, or simple.
Right.
Let's start with the good things first. Let's build myself up before we...
Well, I think you have a lot to commend you, because you're trying to be ahead of the game in most times.
I think, and to your point, I'm trying to be ahead of the game, but it also has, because I've been working in the senior industry for over a decade now, it's really helped us to start being insightful and having these conversations, right?
Exactly.
So I think I've been wise in the fact of learning more about your medical history, right? We've kind of been a little bit proactive on understanding what doctor's appointments you have, which doctors you have. And so I feel like I have a better understanding of a baseline.
Right. Well, and it's not like I need help on all doctors, but if it's a new type of doctor or a new issue, it's always good to have you go along.
Yeah. And I think we've been wise because we've realized we love the medical community, but there are some physicians, doctors, nurse practitioners out there that have an accent. that's difficult for you to hear,
especially with my hearing aids and
understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I've recognized that, and so I'm wise to say, Mom, I think I need to go with you on this appointment. But to your benefit, you haven't pushed back on that either.
No, I think I'm wise to know when I need you along, just to be sure that we understand completely what the doctor is saying.
Yeah.
Versus it's just kind of a routine thing.
Yeah, I do. So I give myself pat on backs, like I feel like I'm a little bit
Okay, I'll pat you on the back too.
wise in that regard. Foolish. I'm not going to ask you. Well, I guess I could ask your opinion after I share mine. I think I'm foolish because I'm choosing to ignore
What?
finances.
Oh.
It's a touchy conversation. And like, I honestly don't know how much you bring in per month. I don't want us to share that on the podcast now, but I don't know how much you bring in from Social Security or your pension or
all my income sources,
whatever your income sources are. So I've been very ignorant of that. I know that we've taken a step, and I'm on your bank account, so I could access that and get that, but I'd have to go and do a little bit of research. So let's say, for example, some crisis happens, right? And I don't have you to have that conversation, or you're not kind of coherent or with it. I'd have to do some research and figure some things out.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on some of the my financial things, like my investments, I've tried to include you, but they may change, and I'm not sure I always inform you about the change that might happen.
Well, but again, I'd have to go and research and dig. And so I feel that, though, I think I've ignored that, and I've been foolish about that, because it is sometimes when you talk about finances with your parents, it gets quite emotional. And from your perspective, why do you think it gets emotional when the generations, or your kids start to talk about finances, your adult children?
Well, I think that the thing that first comes to my mind is, as we age, we keep finding areas where we're losing control. And this would be a big area that we might lose control. And we don't want to admit that we're losing control. So that's where we're foolish. And then there's also, you've got to have a lot of trust to share that kind of thing with your kids. Trust they're not going to take advantage of you, and trust that they will do things that will be good for you.
In your best interest. And so there's a lot of, I guess, family dynamics that probably play into that.
Yeah. And I think every family is very different in that area. I think because we do live together, we probably have a lot more trust, but you probably still have more information than a lot of families do.
Granted, you probably are right that I have probably, even though I feel like I'm behind the game.
But you know where I file things. You imagine I could find them, but
you mean the big filing cabinet that has tons and tons of papers that you still keep for?
Oh, that filing cabinet. Yes.
We are in the digital age. I mean, I think that's a funny story that we can share, is that I've had to encourage you throughout the years that you don't need to save years and years of statements.
Right. And bills and yes. Yes. Yeah. That could be a whole nother conversation.
You've got better throughout the years.
Sometimes I'll share you my story about going to the doctor yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess maybe should we pause and start that conversation? Going back to maybe why finances are such a hard thing between adult children and aging parents. I mean, I think you identified a couple of things of, it's losing control.
Yeah.
you're feeling, you're not in
And
control of
even though that
everything.
might not happen immediately, it's kind of a step toward losing control just by sharing.
Yeah. And you hope that the information you're sharing with whoever you're choosing in your family, that there's this level of trust that they're
Well,
going to do what's in the best interest of you, right?
yeah.
With
Mhm.
that. Do you think there is in some cases, we're not saying all, in some, do you think maybe there's a sense of embarrassment
I
that,
had thought about that, but I think that could be very much true because when you kind of bear it all like that about your finances, it might show where you've not been very wise or maybe simple in handling your financial matters. And, here again, this is it's just, we never want to look at our faults.
yeah. Yeah. And so hopefully we can, my hope is, I mean, that's a reality. Some people might feel embarrassed of how they've gone into their aging years and haven't handled their finances well. But I think from an adult child's perspective, I'm hoping my generation comes into that conversation or those types of conversations with no judgment of, our
Yeah.
parents did the best that they could
You
with
know,
what they had at the time, but also it's easier to know on the front end.
well, I was just thinking that how important it would be for the children to know where the parents stand financially, because if something happens, they need to be prepared to pick up the slack. Unfortunately, it may be financially harmful to them.
Well, and I think that's a good conversation for us to have is that, at what point do we pick up the slack? I mean, or is it, well, let's see what we can do with what you have prepared for.
Right. Well, and thankfully, you have helped me financially prepare and helping me get a long-term care policy and things like that while I still could in a timely way.
Oh, I never heard you say that. That makes me feel good.
Well, more and more I realize I might need to use it someday. You
So
know?
so you thought that was wise? I feel like I was pushing a lot for that.
No, I don't think you were pushing. You just gave me the information that that was possible.
Yeah.
Now, maybe on second thought, maybe you were pushing.
No. Well, thanks. I think the people who know me would say, "Yeah, you're right. She is pushy."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's an area of that I maybe need to ramp up on is learning a little bit more
On my
about your
finances. Well,
finances.
do you feel like you've been simple in any way?
Um, I think I've been simple by maybe being naive. So how do I let me try to back this up a little bit. I have been naive because I feel like I'm a superwoman, I'm a power woman, and I can do it all. I think I've been naive of how your aging will impact me.
Oh, okay.
And I think I've been not desiring to go to those emotions. Obviously, I don't want to create anxiety because it's not there yet.
Right.
But I guess at sometimes my mind goes in the future going, I'm going to go into a caregiving mode with you. And I don't want to do the day to day tasks. And I'm hoping to have grandkids in the future.
Oh, you think you'd like to spend the grandkid with the time with the grandkids and not your old mom, huh?
S- uh,
Yeah, just say yes.
Yes. Yes. And so it's hard to say that because I feel that I'm being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'm naive not wanting to have that conversation, just kind of like, we'll deal with it when it comes.
Okay.
But maybe that's a conversation we can have about, I don't want you to think that I'm your only 24/7 go-to person.
Well, and that is a good conversation. And one of the things that just happened this past week, you were out of town on business,
Yes.
and my son-in-law was working. Oh, I think probably in Glendale, and I was walking, and I thought, what happens if I fall while I'm walking?
You had that thought?
I had that thought. Who do I call
Huh.
if I can't get up and continue walking and walk home?
You call 911.
Uh,
No,
that
but
doesn't sound like fun at all.
no, but let's go there. So why do you think you had that thought, and what came out of it after you
Well,
dug a little bit deeper?
I just realize how dependent I am on having my kids around or having family around.
Huh. Okay. And can we like peel back the layers of the onion real quick? So how did that make you feel? I mean, you shared that you were so dependent. Were you
Well, you don't want to be dependent, but yet you do want someone there when you need someone. You know, it's you're tugged both ways because you do begin to realize as you age that there's so many things that you can't do, or
or that you're limited?
I'm limited. Yeah, definitely limited. And I do try to walk, but you're just prone to issues all the time that you're walking.
I was thinking as I was traveling, I didn't know this. I've started to think that it's going to go to your point that you don't want to be dependent, but it sounds like you're grateful that you do have family around.
Yeah, exactly.
And goes to what I've been thinking the last couple of weeks, and that we can hold space for two things that are true at the same time.
Yeah. And they're both very true. And I think the only way you can get through, because it's kind of unclear, but you could get through just by talking, being vocal about it. I need help with this, but please don't help me with this type of thing. And yeah, just like we're talking now.
I really like how you said that. I need help with this, but I don't need help with this right now.
Right.
And so that shows wisdom on your part, right? To be vulnerable on areas that you can or can't or whatever that you need help or support. But then on the receiving end, which would be my generation, I think there's a level of hearing that.
Right. And not being overprotective. So it is kind of a balance there.
It's a balance. And I think if we feel something, it's again going back to asking questions or having a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Mom. Why don't you feel comfortable, or why don't you feel like you need help in this area? It allows us to, instead of me
just assuming
or having some questioning.
Yes. Conversation is really the key of it.
Conversation.
So. Yeah.
And that's that leads us to why we're doing this, right? And we're wanting to have allow people to start having these conversations.
We need the conversations ourselves, but we're hoping that people will be inspired to have conversations between the two generations too. And I want to say one thing. Sometimes it's more than two generations. Because when your grandchildren become adults, they can be part of that conversation too.
That's important, because your grandchildren are one of them is a full-fledged adult. One of them, the other four are in college and but they can be a part of that conversation.
I actually have a friend, a 94-year-old friend, She has one daughter. Her daughter is busy taking care of her husband, so she's not much help to mom. So the 3 granddaughters are the principal source of help.
Are filling in for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
it's a sad story, but there is
It's the way it is sometimes.
some goodness in that.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our listeners a book that you and I read together that also helped bring some of these conversations to light? And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can see the book
It's called The Other Talk,
by Tim Prosch.
and that's Prosch. And I highly recommend this book. It's hard to kind of put it down, but it really is so realistic about what really, really happens in families.
And what I love is he talks about how we're supposed to have the birds and the bees talk with our kids. This is
the other talk, which should happen as the parents age, need to have the talk with the children on what their wishes are.
Well, what I love about this book, it's saying that your generation needs to kind of take that ownership.
Right.
In having this other talk instead of my generation or the Generation X or the adult children pushing to have those conversations.
It usually doesn't work too well if the children are pushing the parents. But yeah, this is cluing the parents in.
Of what types of talks to have and why it's necessary to have those talks.
Right.
Because he gives some examples about when some of those talks didn't happen and what the circumstances were, right? Or the results.
The children had to take care of that weren't always pleasing to the parents.
Or the children, I'm sure.
Sure, you're right.
I'm sure the children.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say before we wrap up today?
Hooray.
Hooray. Hooray. Well, Mom, thanks for being here. Thanks for openly sharing. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for listening. And are we ready for the closing?
Well, we're just going to say thank you so much for being here today. If you want to subscribe, or we ask that you subscribe, we're on YouTube as well as Instagram. Subscribe so you can get those notifications and know that when we're going to have another episode. And we will see you later.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
This is Karen, and I just wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us today. Please come back for more laughs, more connections, and more real-life moments between these 2 generations. See you on the next walk.